this looks nothing like the posts that I was promised on
Right.
Instagram. What is going on here? And so then you think that you're doing something wrong, and you're not doing something wrong. You're just doing something that's hard.
Hey, everyone. This is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am back today with my friend Alicia Hutchinson, and we're talking about homeschooling. We're talking about wrapping up the school year. We're talking about summertime. If you missed Mondays and Wednesdays episodes, go back and listen to those. It was so fun talking to her and just talking through, like, what does it look like to wrap up the year? What do you even do? How do you do that? And then as we're moving into summer, just some fun ideas that she had about doing a summer basket for her kids and some end of the year traditions that she and her family have. So definitely go back and listen to those. Today, we're going to talk about community and how we can use the summertime to build community and have real life influencers in our lives. But before we do, I want to say thank you again to our sponsor, BJU Press Homeschool. Every child has a unique learning style. BJU Press has video lessons with engaging teachers to lead your children through each of their academic subjects. These experienced teachers will present lesson content from multiple angles so your children can absorb information at a comfortable pace. Visit their website at bjupresshomeschool.com to see what courses are available for your students. Well, Alicia, welcome back to the podcast. It's been such a fun conversation this week. I'm really enjoying it and just getting to know you. You're so personable and it's been fun chatting with you. Let's talk about community because that is one of the most important parts of homeschooling. Of course, it's not just about the academics and putting a workbook in front of our kids, but for moms and for kids, I think having community is vitally important. It is so necessary for us. And we look at all these influencers, and some of them are great and they have great content and they have great encouragement, but we need real life influencers. And I think summertime is a good time to start building those relationships so that when we get into the school year, we already have some of those set in place. And if you have started to build those relationships and you have community from the past year, it's so important to keep those relationships going throughout the summer so that you don't lose that. Talk about your experience with community and why you as well find it important to have just to have those people in your life.
hmm And I think I'm thankful that when we began homeschooling, Instagram was not a thing because
Right.
I do have some sympathy for moms that are just starting out right now because there are some amazingly creative homeschool moms out there that post the most beautiful pictures and the most, just beautiful. Everything looks amazing. And I think, you and I and everybody out there listening knows that when you actually get started and you get into it, you're like, this looks nothing like the posts that I was promised on
Right.
Instagram. What is going on here? And so then you think that you're doing something wrong, and you're not doing something wrong. You're just doing something that's hard because it's a long day with children, some of whom, can't go to the bathroom by themselves yet.
Right.
So it does wear on the nerves, right? And so I am very thankful that when I was starting out, I had a couple of really good friends and slash mentors that had homeschooled their kids and just really kind of held my hand and walked me through the whole beginning process. And one of my friends, she had 7 children. She had an amazing homeschool room, and she, I told her, I'm going to start homeschooling. I have no idea where to start. She's like, come over and I'll help you get started. And she was so patient with me and so amazing. We sat down with coffees and she just let me ask her 100 questions. And then she just left me alone in her homeschool room to just look at all of her curriculum and page through things. So it was like my own personalized exhibit hall at a conference.
Yeah.
And it was just such a gift to me. And I realized that not everybody is going to have that. But I do think that seasoned homeschool moms want younger homeschool moms to succeed. And I realize that there's all kinds of family dynamics and things, but it does make me sad when, someone that I know just decides that they can't do it anymore because they just kept getting too frustrated or whatever. Because we're all part of the body, right? So we can all offer something to somebody else, whether it's somebody younger, somebody older. But I especially, would just shout out to the older moms that have some experience under their belt to reach out to somebody that's new, because I do think that if all they have is the Instagram homeschool world to look to as for a mentorship, it is quite defeating some days. I mean, I
Yeah.
as a 40-year-old person go onto Instagram some days and I'm like, wow, I do not have anything together. My life, what am I even doing? And so it can get, depending on the time of the month or the frame of mind you're in, to really feel discouraged when you're looking around out there. So I would really encourage older moms that have been at this for a while to reach out to younger moms and invite them over for coffee. Chances are they're looking for that. It's something that I feel like is sorely needed in the Christian community and churches. But yeah, definitely reach out to somebody. Be that person that don't wait for someone to invite you. Invite them over to your house, because I've been new in town multiple times
Yeah.
and it can get frustrating when you're like, well, nobody's inviting me over. Well, a lot of times they don't know that you're even looking for somebody because they're involved in their lives. They have their kids. But, if you can kind of be just a little bit of a bee in their bonnet and just say, hey, let's get together. I really could use a friend. I really could use maybe just some insight on some things. I have some questions. Could our kids play and I'll make you coffee? Like something like
Yeah.
that. And just, I don't want to say force it. That sounds kind of harsh, but, make it happen. There's a lot of people out there that need that community, and keep trying. It is hard. We live in a very isolated world where we're kind of all in our bubbles, but I don't necessarily think that that's the healthiest all the time.
Yeah.
We can do this Zoom stuff and FaceTime, but there's nothing as genuine as being able to read somebody's face, face to face, and hold somebody's hand or give them a hug. And it's something that I think that we desperately need more of in the world, but
Yeah.
also, in our niche, in our homeschool mom world too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, man, I love some aspects of social media and the internet, but I hate most aspects of it. I think it should be
Hmm.
called unsocial media because
Hmm.
it's gotten us, to the point in our world where people don't even know how to socialize. I mean, especially our teenagers, they don't know how to socialize, and it's heartbreaking to me. Um, but I think in the homeschool community, at least we have the opportunity to help teach our kids how to do that because we're with them more. And so really, we talked in our last episode about developing character in our kids through the summertime. And this is a great time to help our kids learn what it looks like to have community, how they can reach out and be hospitable to other homeschool families, especially if there are new homeschool families in town, or maybe a family who's been homeschooling for a long time and you just want to build a relationship with them. Teach your kids how to be hospitable to those people as well. Whether your kids are in first grade or in 11th grade, it doesn't matter, but teaching them how to build community, because I see this next generation going in a direction that I think is really scary, where they literally, many of them don't know how to communicate. I mean, you see a group of teenagers and they're all
Hmm.
sitting on their phones right next to each other, not talking to each other, but sending each other Snapchats and Instagram posts and this and that. And I just think, oh, how sad. We must teach our kids. We must be intentional about teaching our kids how to commune with one another, how
Hmm.
not to be the weird, unsocialized homeschoolers, but to be the super cool, socialized homeschoolers, because
Hmm.
it is necessary it's necessary for their well being and for the future. I mean, it boggles my mind where we've come to, and honestly, I think that it is I think it's very sneaky and a ploy of the enemy to get us to a point in our world where we don't know how to commune with one another. So, yes, finding real life influencers, community, be that person to reach out to those in your community or ask. I mean, it is one of the good things about social media that you can go into your local homeschool community and say, "Hey, I'm new in town. Would someone like to go to the park? We want to make friends. Here are the ages of my kids." And I love it when I see those things and I see people responding to that. So sometimes you have to be the one to put your foot forward there as well.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
Important stuff. So let's take a break. We'll be right back. We want to thank all of our sponsors for making this show possible: BJU Press Homeschool, CTC Math, Apologia, and IEW. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Visit the show notes for links to these great companies and thank them for supporting the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. We are back with Alicia. Before the break, we were talking about building community, finding community, being part of a community. How have you mentioned that you've moved several times. So have we. It's so hard to move. I love it and hate it all at the same time. I'm a person who is okay with change much better than my husband and my oldest daughter. I just do a little bit better with change in my life, but they're not as great at it. I shouldn't say they're bad at it. They just don't like it as much. And so I know it's hard to get into a new community. As you've moved, what are some ways that you have found to build community and make friends with people in a new town?
Yeah, I think that's so true. I have at least one child that is definitely does not like change. And so I understand though. I mean, there's a comfort with sameness. There's a security with that.
Mhm.
But I have been the newbie a couple of times. We moved one big move from the Midwest to the East Coast, and then from the East Coast back to the Midwest, but to a new place in the Midwest. And so I do remember when we had first moved here to Minnesota, I was going to this, it was just like a chess class, kind of fun afternoon type of thing. Some kids were doing chess, some kids were doing gym, and I had this little toddler. And so I was just kind of like following her around. It was hard to connect with people. And plus I was new, and it does take a lot of vulnerability to
Yep.
go introduce yourself to somebody. And so I just didn't really want to. I just didn't want to. It's hard. And so I would walk the hall, this kind of lobby area with Vera, and just follow after her as she ran around. And there was this group of moms. There's 3 moms, and they just seemed so fun and funny. Like I always heard them laughing. They just had like a way about them that just was. It was just a sweet, like, I don't know if energy is the right word, but I just liked the way that they seemed. And it was just like, oh, I want to be their friend. And so I realized after a few weeks that their daughter, they all 3 had daughters the same age as my Sophia. And I think that they were about 8 years old, 7 or 8, somewhere in there. And maybe a little bit younger, actually. It all blurs together. But anyway, I don't even know what came over me. I wasn't even really like prepared with logistics, or I hadn't really even thought it through. So I'm not quite sure if I would recommend that exactly. But I knew that Sophie liked to read. I knew that these moms seemed really fun and sweet. And I knew that they had daughters the same age. And so one day I just went over to them and I just said, hey, I'm new and my daughter loves to read. Would your girls ever be interested in starting a book club with Sophia? And we could just read a book a month, and we could trade off who hosts or whatever. And all 3 of them were super excited. They were totally on board, and we started a book club that lasted for years. When our girls got to that like 8th grade area where they were they kind of were, one of them really got into dance. One of them got into something else. So it was just, they kind of dispersed a little bit, but they're all still friends. Us moms are all still friends. We don't connect like as frequently as we used to, but we're all still friends. And that was such a sweet time. And so I would just encourage people to just be brave and maybe not be afraid to stick their neck out there a little bit and just make a friend. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you won't regret trying because then you'll know, right?
Yeah, that's right. If you don't try, you'll never know. So I love that idea. I love that you were bold enough to just go to them and say, hey, can we start this book club? And that it takes courage to do something like that. As we're talking about books and book clubs and stuff, one of the things I want you to talk about is you have a quarterly print magazine, and we've talked about social media and, there are great things. And I mean, we even talked about your blog. You have a blog that has tons of great articles and stuff, but I think that there's a need for the tangible, the something that you can hold in your hands and you can feel it. I'm a book reader. I do not like to read electronic books. I like to read, or digital books, I guess, whatever you call them. I like to read actual paper books. I love going to the library and actually seeing all the books on the shelves, and I just love actual paper. Talk about your print magazine that you have. I want to know the story behind it. Why did you start it and what is it?
Well, it's called Learning Well Journal. So about 6 years ago, I started just an online kind of community. I had some courses. I've had a blog for a long time, but I kind of made it more of a community. So on my Instagram once a week, I would feature a mom and she would walk us through her day in the life. And I wanted it to be a realistic look at homeschooling. And when I started that, another kind of idea that I had in the back of my mind was doing a print magazine. And I love magazines. I'm with you. I love paper. 9 times out of 10, if there's an article I want to read, I will print it out and just read it on the paper because I just like to hold it. I like to
Yeah.
underline. And so I have notebooks from, 2000, 12 or 13 that I had jotted down ideas on this magazine. And so in the last 2 years, it's kind of all come together. And what it is, it's Learning Well Journal, and it is a quarterly print magazine. And we offer it just in print because that's the way I like it. And it is based upon the season, so winter, spring, summer, and fall. And then each issue has a theme, from a verse in scripture. So it might be on diligence or discipline or attentiveness and contentment or hospitality. Those are some of the different. I think we have the 7th issue just went to print. So it is. And it encompasses everything from home and homeschool and faith and family. So we, as homeschool moms, we know that homeschooling isn't just about school and academics. It's laundry, and it's having grandma and grandpa come over for dinner. It's music lessons. It's doing the lawn work together. It's doing a family movie night. It's all of those things. It's a lifestyle, right? So we like to hit on all of those things. It's not just about homeschooling. It's about all of that homeschool life that is such a beautiful thing when you look at it all together. We talk about teens. We talk about little kids. Every issue we try to hit on teens, at least in one article. We have we call it Man to Man as a feature in every issue as well, where we have a homeschool dad write an article to dads, which is another area that I feel like is kind of lacking a little bit. We need more encouragement for men and good, godly men. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of everything. It's something that I had dreamed about doing for a really long time. And I hope it's an encouragement to moms. It's something that I kind of design with the hopes that they will hang on to them and pass them along or leave them out on the coffee table or share them with a friend or something like that.
That is so awesome. I love that. It sounds kind of like taking the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast and putting it in print, where you're just addressing family discipleship, homeschooling, all of the things that encompasses, and you're putting it in a print format. So I love that. Is it a subscription-based magazine?
It is. You can get either an annual subscription or you can do it by quarter. And, of course, you can cancel anytime. And then occasionally, well, I shouldn't say occasionally, usually we have some, just extra issues. We always over order. And then you can get those in the shop as well. There's usually a few of the issues available. And so you can check that out on my website. If you go to aliciahutchinson.com, you'll be able to find that link. So,
okay, perfect. So that's where they'll find the magazine.
Yep. If it's actually aliciahutchinson.com/magazine, or you could go to learningwell.com/magazine as well. It's kind of the same.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put links in the show notes so people don't even have to go looking for it. They can just go to the show notes and click on those links. What is one last bit of encouragement that you would like to leave for our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, I feel like with a graduate, as you're going through the homeschool years, there's so many worries. There's so many fears that we have as moms. And we can always be afraid that we're not doing enough or we're lacking in this area or that area. And to be honest, we probably are lacking in some areas because we're not perfect people.
Right.
But I would just say, as an encouragement to moms that are maybe struggling or just not sure if they're doing the right thing, you are doing the right thing. You love your child more than anyone else on earth. And no teacher could love them more than you do. And so just stay the course. Just stay the course. As a mom with a homeschool graduate, I feel like I can speak to this, that he is the most just amazing young man. And I'm proud of him, not because of anything I did, but because of like how God made him. And it's just so amazing that I get to be his mother. So just keep going. It's so worth it. It's so, so worth it. You'll be so glad that you did. And then you can have an amazing, fun graduation party at the end. And it's just such a wonderful thing to celebrate together as a family. So keep going. It's so worth it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Alicia, for your encouragement this week. We will put all the links in the show notes so you guys can find out more about Alicia and her ministry and her magazine and all that she has going on. I am so grateful for your encouragement this week. You guys, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, would you guys like and subscribe and share this with your friends and with your family? We would love for you to do that so that people will be encouraged. We need the encouragement. We need community. We need each other. And one way we help do that is to share the things that are a blessing to us and the things that are impacting us. And so if this ministry is impacting you, please share this with your friends. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're listening to it, you can send them the link to it. We would love that. And again, you can check out everything at schoolhouserocked.com. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Bye.
Often when I speak and I talk about the need to equip ourselves with a biblical worldview, and I'll mention to my audience that we got to recognize that around 90% of kids from church homes go to the public schools. And in those public schools, in a real sense, secularism, naturalism, atheism is the new religion of that system. The system itself is inherently atheistic because the system itself assumes right up front that you don't need God to explain anything, that you can explain all things, biology, anthropology, astronomy, mathematics, everything without God, without the Bible. That is the religion of humanism, naturalism, atheism. And for so many Christian parents, when we send our kids to that system, they're there for almost 40 hours a week, 9 months out of the year, and they're getting really hit with this atheistic worldview and all the reasons, really, the atheistic worldview must be true, and if that's true, then the Bible can't be true.